For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joanna Tzouvelis. I'm a Belmont resident, former reporter for the Belmont Citizen Herald, current news director for the Belmont Media Center. I've lived in Belmont for 13 years, and I want to thank you. It means so much to me and the families of all the victims of 9/11 that you have all taken the time to gather here today for this very special town ceremony. "10:28 a.m. was the exact time the North Tower of the World Trade Center collapsed 21 years ago today. Please join me for a moment of silence for the nearly 3,000 innocent people whose lives were cut short on September 11th, 2001. Thank you. I would now like to invite Sachi Kapitani, a senior at Belmont High School, to sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much, Sashi. You have an incredible voice, and we expect to see you in the lead of the school play this year. 3 Belmont residents were on Flight 11, the first airplane to crash into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Edward Hennessy Jr., Paul Friedman, and Carlos Montoya. My cousin, John Katsamatidis, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, which was located on the 95th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. There are people in our lives we feel a strong connection to, and John was one of those people in my life. No matter how much time goes by, it does not get any easier for the loved ones left behind. I have a story I'd like to share with everyone here today about how I discovered this tree, and in case you haven't figured it out, this is the tree. I was writing a story about the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and how Belmont reacted to the tragedy. I learned through the Belmont Historical Society, apologies, now I know how Mr. Taylor felt on graduation. I learned through the Belmont Historical Society that this Norway maple, also known as a Crimson King tree, was planted in memory of the victims of 9/11 on October 25th, 2001. Many of you here today were at that groundbreaking ceremony 21 years ago. During my research for the story, I determined where the tree was planted and came to take a look at it. And this is when I learned there was no plaque to identify it. Through further investigation and with the help of our town's former tree warden, I learned the tree was donated by Sinclair Weeks, Belmont resident, owner of Hartney Graymont. I tracked him down, and he helped me find the missing plaque. And with the help of the town administrator's office, the select board, the public works department, the Belmont Historic District Commission and Brown and Hickey Funeral Home, the plaque has now been installed and will be unveiled today. And I never thought I would feel connected to a tree like I do with this particular one. We are gathered here today not to mourn, but to celebrate the lives of our loved ones lost, which this tree symbolizes. I will now read a statement from Sinclair Weeks, who couldn't be here today. September 11th, 2001 was an infamous day for our country, directly affecting families across the United States and here in our community. Tragically, Belmont lost 3 people in the terror attacks on 9/11. Paul Friedman, Edward R. Hennessy Jr., and Carlos Alberto Montoya, all young men in the prime of their lives. We will always remember and honor them. My company, Hartney Graymont, a tree and landscape firm, decided to memorialize victims in a number of towns we served by planting memorial trees on town and city property. The trees would both beautify these spaces and remind us of friends and family members lost on 9/11. Later that fall, we planted over 15 memorial trees in Metro Boston. Belmont is my hometown, and I'm glad to see this tree still thriving here on town land. I am also glad that we now will have a permanent plaque to honor all the victims of the terror attacks on 9/11. I would like to thank the people of Belmont for accepting this tree and everyone who made installing this memorial plaque possible today. Sinclair Weeks. I'd now like to invite Victoria Haase, President of the Belmont Historical Society, to come and address the crowd.
Can everybody hear me? Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank Joanna for inviting me to share some comments today. I consider it an honor to be part of the ceremony, and I want to greet all of you, townspeople, friends, families, and what a great turnout for this event today. So September 11th, as you know, had a global impact on the world around us. And as events unfolded that day, one common phrase seemed almost immediately to emerge. And that phrase was, never forget. And it was more regularly, it was seen on posters, banners at the scene, buttons, t-shirts. And the words really seemed to underscore what we were all feeling. We never wanted to forget the events that took place. Well, I knew I had heard similar versions of that expression before, and as it turns out, lest we forget had been associated with past wars, particularly World War I, and tragedies and sacrifices that had been made. But further research about the origin actually came from the Bible. So in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 9 and 10, it was recorded by Moses, who wrote that book, and he wrote that book, Deuteronomy, to remind the people of their history. So it was under the chapter heading titled Obedience Commanded. And the verse, starting in verse 9, says, "Only be careful and watch yourselves closely, so that you do not forget the things your eyes have seen, or let them slip from your heart as long as you live. Teach them to your children and to their children after them." So today we find ourselves gathered to rehearse and remember and to create new memories, both individually and for the community, around that never forget phrase. But how do we keep this slogan alive? How do we safeguard and remember the deep meaning of these words, lest we forget? Well, how can we accomplish this command? You're asking, who's the we? So, to answer that question, I want to tell you that Belmont is fortunate to have an organization whose mission is to collect, preserve, and to promote, which means to teach, our local history. That organization, the Belmont Historical Society, was founded in the 1930s. It was reactivated in the 60s, and with the dedication of the Memorial Library on Concord Avenue, there's a room in there called the Claflin Room that was particularly created and designed to hold our archival collection. That room is the headquarters today of the Belmont Historical Society. It's staffed by volunteers that are dedicated to the organization 5 days a week. And we also, in addition to keeping and maintaining an archival collection there, present programs September through May that promote the history, programs and events, celebrating the uniqueness of our town.
Thank you, Victoria. A poetry contest was held by the Belmont Times, a digital youth magazine sponsored by the Belmont Youth Commission. Participants in the contest were asked to write a poem about this memorial tree. And the winning poem was written by Chenery 6th grader Asher Cohen. Congratulations, Asher. Asher will now read the winning poem titled, "One Tree Can Make a Difference." Let's make sure this is the right height.
Hello. Okay. The date was in September. Something happened to remember. The Twin Towers, our source of pride, had crumbled. Voices silenced, fearful words mumbled. But what we took as a newfound nation will last beyond that one generation. One tree cannot make any difference. And yet one tree makes all the difference. Thank you.
Well done, Asher. Thank you so much. Our state senator, William Brownsberger, and Anne Marie Mahoney were select board members 21 years ago who witnessed the groundbreaking for this tree. The article is actually on a poster behind me, as well as your program, and again, that's how I discovered the tree, through the Belmont Historical Society. They keep these clippings. I'll now invite Senator Brownsberger to the microphone.
That's good. Thank you. That's good. Thank you, Joanna, for bringing us together. I'm State Senator Will Brownsberger, and I'm here with my colleague, Representative Rogers, also from the state legislature. It was my privilege to be here in 2001. It's probably, as for many of you, it's sort of all flooding back, right? Remember when somebody first told me a plane hit the tower, I said, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen, And then, is that a real picture? And slowly it all filters in, and all the again and again get hit with it. And we all imagined, we weren't there, but we all imagined what the people on the planes, what the people in the buildings experienced. Alarm turning into dread, then to frank terror. Probably for most of them, not too much pain, but play that again and again. Then, of course, the families who are, grieving the loss of a loved one, but having to play it again and again in that public conversation about what had happened, to see the images again and again, not be able to rest from it. The image that's hardest for me to contemplate without choking up. I'm not getting through that without choking up. But you can see it. You can see the guys in their turnout gear going up the stairs. I can see them in that stairwell. Sweat pouring off of them on the 9th floor, the 10th floor. Looking up, listening. What's going to happen? And then boom, it's all gone. So for me, I think of all the victims, but for me, when I think of 9/11, I think Fire Department of New York, FDNY. And for me, the event is really about our firefighters, our police officers, ultimately our soldiers who choose to put themselves in harm's way to protect us and our freedoms. And bad things do happen. So thank you, Joanna, for giving us the occasion to honor them and remember and share the pain of all of the victims and their families. Thank you.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Anne Marie Mahoney. Let's see how we need to adjust. Should be good. Yeah. Sure?
Yeah, this is fine. All right. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, everyone, for being here. After 21 years, what do we remember? The horror of that day is seared into our minds and hearts. We recall every detail of that stunningly beautiful Tuesday, turned into unbearable pain and loss, but courage and sacrifice as well. I remember the tree planting day, standing here on a cool, cloudy morning with Will and Bill Monahan, and with Carol Hurley, who worked in the police department and whose Army son was posted at the Pentagon, but he was safe. With Stretch Foley, Medal of Honor recipient, who knew horror, courage, and death in Vietnam. We came together that day to mourn Ted Hennessy, Paul Friedman, and Carlos Montoya. What do we hold on to today? Peggy Noonan wrote a column for the Wall Street Journal on the 5th anniversary of 9/11, which came to be known as, "I Just Called to Say I Love You." She describes the messages that those on the doomed aircraft sent to loved ones. She wrote, "Something terrible had happened. Life was reduced to essentials. Time was short. People said what counted, what mattered. It has been noted that there is no record of anyone calling to say, 'I never liked you,' or 'you hurt my feelings.' No one negotiated past grievances or said, 'vote for Smith.' Amazingly or not, there is no record of anyone damning the terrorists or saying, 'I hate them.' No one said anything unneeded, extraneous, or small. Crisis is a great editor. When you read the transcripts that have been released over the years, it is all so clear." Noonan continues, "This is what I get from the last messages. People were often stronger than they know, bigger, more gallant than they would guess. And this, we're all lucky to be here today, and able to say what deserves saying. And if you say it a lot, it won't make it common and so unheard, but known and absorbed. This tree could be a symbol of horror and hate and unimaginable loss. However, this tree instead can be a reminder to us that life is precious. Living takes courage and love. Can our lasting memories of 9/11 be about unselfish bravery and unconditional love? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne Marie. It is now time to, oh, I'm sorry. It's now time to introduce our select board, Mark Polillo, Adam Dash, and Roy Epstein, for a very special presentation.
It's been an interesting day with this microphone, Joanna. Thank you. That's perfect. Thank you so much. It's a privilege and honor of folks to be here today to rededicate this beautiful tree, and to also finally, place the plaque that should have been placed here 21 years ago. So, on behalf of the Select Board, my colleagues, Vice Chair Adam Dash, Member Roy Epstein, Town Administrator Patrice Garvin, I want to thank Joanna for gathering us here today to, as you say, Joanna, to celebrate the memory of those that were lost. God bless you for doing this. And thank you all for attending as well. Certainly, as others have noted, it was a day that will be forever seared in our memories, a day of pain and horror and tragedy when we lost nearly 3,000 people within our country. But also a day of courage and sacrifice by many, particularly our first responders. We had a ceremony earlier today at the fire department, and I acknowledged the loss that was realized by members of both the fire and police departments of New York. God bless them. They were doing what they were trained to do and what they dedicated their lives to, and that is saving other people's lives. And many of them lost their lives. So again, on behalf of the Select Board and the Town of Belmont, I want to read this proclamation for the town. Town of Belmont, Massachusetts Select Board Proclamation. Whereas the 11th of September marks the anniversary of an egregious attack on the United States, and henceforth this day gives us pause as a community and nation to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response, including first responders and volunteers. And whereas on September 11, 2001, 3 residents of the Belmont community, Edward Hennessy Jr., Peter Friedman, and Carlos Montoya, were among the 2,977 people killed. And whereas a Norway maple tree was donated to the town of Belmont by Hartney Graymont, honoring the memory of the victims of September 11, 2001. And whereas October 25, 2001, a groundbreaking ceremony for the September 11th memorial tree was held, and the tree was planted near the school administration building here at 644 Pleasant Street. And whereas September 11th, 2022, marks the date of a dedication ceremony of a plaque identifying the memorial tree, donated by Hartney Graymont, mounted by Brown and Hickey Funeral Home in Belmont. And now therefore be it resolved that the Select Board of the Town of Belmont joins with our community in a day of remembrance for those lost and those who united in response on September 11, 2001, and that the tree planted near 644 Pleasant Street be marked by a plaque delineating its purpose as a place of honor and remembrance. Select Board, Mark A. Polillo, Chair, Adam Dash, Vice Chair, Roy Epstein, Member. I don't know whether there are members of the families that are here today. I know that, I understand from Joanna that Susan Keller here may be here to accept this proclamation. So Susan, please come up. I don't know if any members, family members of Peter Friedman or Carlos Montoya are here. If not, I'm happy to give them their plaque. So Susan, on behalf of the Select Board, I want to present you this proclamation. Why don't you come up here and take a picture with us? God bless you. Victoria Hess? Yeah, Victoria Hess. want to say a few words?
Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Okay. I think others that I want to present to is Victoria Haas from the Belmont Historical Society. Victoria? Is she still here? Yeah. There she comes. Victoria, on behalf of the Select Board, I want to present you with this proclamation.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Go in our files.
Okay, great. So we will make certain that these other, I don't know if anyone else here from any of the families, anyone here from Belmont, Hartney, but we'll make certain that they also receive these proclamations. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you on behalf of coming here. And the final word, Joanna, go. Here, come on up, Joanna, again. You're like a up and down here. God bless you. We did want to present a proclamation to you as well. My vice chair continues to remind me who I need to give it to, but thank you, Joanna. God bless you for organizing today's event.
It is now time to unveil the plaque. And thank you, Mark, Adam, and Roy. I've asked Dan Hager with Hartney Belmont to do the honors of unveiling the plaque today because Sinclair Weeks couldn't be here and Robert Brown with Brown and Hickey also couldn't be here. I did want them to do the honors, and I honestly want to call out Robert Brown with Brown and Hickey. He did do a lot to help with today.